Welcome to my tutorial for Shinobi non-Grata, and this is for the Switch, but it's available on multiple platforms, pretty much all modern platforms it seems. And it's a great game in the style of Ninja Spirit, which is an old arcade game that was ported to the TurboGrafx 16. It had some other ports, and it's really heavily based on Ninja Spirit as far as the way it plays. So if you're familiar with that game, then you'll definitely like this. There's more weapons in this game. It has more weapons than Ninja Spirit, and I would say the gameplay is overall quite a bit better than that game. Though I would say that original game has much better music and art style visuals. But aside from that, this game it really holds up because the gameplay is a big improvement, I would say. It's a arcade style, kind of like in the old style of the old 16-bit games as well that we got on consoles back then, 8 and 16-bit games, but it's heavily based on like an arcade style checkpoint to checkpoint type of gameplay. So you want to get to the next checkpoint, and once you get to that checkpoint, the game does automatically save, and you can continue when you start the game up again. And there are no lives or anything. It's just like if you die, you'll continue from the last checkpoint you got to. It took me around 6 hours, 7 minutes to beat. And the main challenge of the game is the boss fights. Some of the bosses can be quite challenging. So that's where most of the challenge comes in. For this first boss, it's very easy. Just run around and dodge his attacks and just use the homing lightning, and that will mostly take care of him. You don't really even have to deal with him directly. There is a tutorial which will give you the basic moves, like your double jump and all the little basic moves, which there's not a lot of moves, but it's worth doing the tutorial first. You may have to do it first, but I edited out of this playthrough. For this playthrough, this tutorial, I edited it down. I removed all the deaths. That way I can just demonstrate each section the way that I completed it. So the main challenge really is the boss fights, but you have a lot of weapons to work with and experiment with, which makes the boss fights interesting. There's a lot of ways that you can approach the bosses. Sometimes you find certain weapons that work really well on specific bosses. So there's a lot to experiment with. But this is just what worked for me. So, there will be better and faster methods to take down these bosses. I did rewatch the boss footage just to refresh my memory. And I do remember the final stage because I just did that yesterday. So that's fresh in my mind. But I played this game over the course of several weeks. I wasn't working on it consistently, so I was jumping around a lot. So I had to review my footage. But yeah, as far as the stages go, I'll give some general tips on the stages, but honestly, the stages are really the easy part of the game. They really don't get that hard because it's not like Ninja Spirit where you die in one hit. In this game, you can take 5 hits. So, of course, if you're not accustomed to these harder style, older games, it's still going to probably be challenging even during the stages, but aside from what you see me doing, I don't know if there's any great tips I can give for the stages, aside from finding the rhythm to each stage, and killing what you need to move through and just keep moving when you can. There are some arenas that kind of lock you in until you kill all the enemies, but aside from that, I like to move fast and just kill shit as it's in my way. So this guy is quite easy, but it's, a bit of a longer fight than the other fights we fought so far. But really, you can see where the boss is going to emerge based on that cloud of dust. So just be ready to swipe at the boss. Now here I didn't do my double jump, but if you want to dodge this, you could just do a double jump to dodge that long charge that the snake does through the horizontal charge that it does. That's how you dodge that. I was just playing sloppy. This might have been the first time I got to it, so there was no practice or anything, I don't think. Like I said, you're just seeing the successful runs, so whatever went down is what is shown. You have minions in a lot of the boss fights like you see here, but a lot of times they do help you because killing them recharges your special moves meter. Usually you get some blue orbs which will recharge your special, so a lot of times killing minions and shit like that can allow you to use specials more, which depending on the boss, there could be some very powerful special moves that you can really abuse. I never really found any super cheap techniques on most of the bosses because most of them are pretty well designed. So They can be pretty challenging. So for these little bullshit things in the way, you just want to hit them until they, until they break. Then you can pass through. I would only kill the enemies that you need to, that are, on your ass immediately, but ignore the rest. So for this boss, this was a little sloppy, but what I did was I used the Chinese symbol or Asian symbol special move. And what that does, it clears out all projectiles on screen. In this case, it clears out all the bees. So if you need a little breathing room, you can use that and then get some hits on the boss. And that's basically what I did for this boss. It almost seems like this first stage is designed to kind of make you use a variety of your special moves. Because there's certain ones that work, a lot better than others for these fights. But yeah, it was pretty sloppy, but the main idea was that I was trying to clear out the bees and get some hits in, and I used the special to do that. You can actually swipe in multiple directions while you're airborne as well, so the game has really precise control for this kind of game. Definitely better control than Ninja Spirit had. It still has the high, narrow jumps that Ninja Spirit had, but it's really not a platforming game. I mean, there's very little platforming. But yeah, I mostly want to focus on taking those things down and just keep moving. You don't really want to worry about the enemies too much. Most of the parts that have enemies you can kind of run through, and none of them are really that hard relative to how hard some of the bosses are, which can be pretty tough. So for this guy, you can just stick him with your bombs and kind of stay back for the most part. And it's quite easy. Just jump his waves, and you got double jump, so you can stay in the air for a while with the double jump. You probably can duck that large wave that he shoots out, but I was just being really fucking sloppy. But, even with this shitty playing, I think I beat him on the first try. So, like I said, not much of a challenge. Now, there I was using I guess that's what you do. I was using my, you have a dodge button. And when you do the dodge, it's actually invincible. It has a lot of invincibility frames, so you can dodge through attacks. So you just dodge right through the attack, and it doesn't hurt you. So the dodge, you can't spam the dodge like rapidly because it takes a little while to recharge, like a second or two. But it is very useful to dodge certain attacks. I probably should have used it more throughout the game, but I did near the end of the game. The final stage was the stage that really challenged me quite a bit. I think the final stage took me around 2.5 hours. 2 to 2.5 hours, so quite difficult final stage. But the game has a good difficulty increase, kind of gradual. It's pretty well balanced. I'm definitely going to review the game as well, and I'll go into more details about that in the review, so check that out. I should have that up tomorrow. I was probably just checking to see if I had turbo set on my controller. A lot of times I pick up the game after breaks and shit like that. So sometimes I have to kind of fuck around with the control briefly to remember the controls. Because, I may not play a game for weeks or sometimes even months. But I don't think I dragged it out for months. It was definitely weeks, though. While I beat a large volume of games every month, I jump around a lot. So there's a lot of unfinished games as well that kind of float around. There's a huge backlog of games with saves in progress. Easily over 300 games that just have saves in progress that never got finished. So it does accumulate. For this guy, you can mainly just kind of stay back and throw bombs at him and just try to dodge best you can. I mean, you can take 5 hits, so you don't have to play perfectly. I may have even beat this on the first try as well. Now, if you're not using bombs, you're probably not outputting as much damage, but your two most powerful weapons are your bombs and your shotgun. So I do recommend experimenting with either one of those on bosses to see if you can get massive damage and kill bosses fast. Sometimes you can kind of speed kill bosses with the right weapon. And it's usually either a bomb or a shotgun that does the trick. So, try some other stuff. Now there's a chance that I may have already experimented with that, and that's why I'm not using certain weapons, because it is trial and error, but I definitely didn't find the best and fastest ways to kill bosses. So, definitely experiment. My play style tends to be more aggressive and getting shit over with quickly. I'll try to play precisely but very fast and aggressive, usually. If I can, anyway. Some bosses do force me to kind of sit back and wait for openings, though, so you'll see those. With this guy, I just stuck him with bombs and I just tried to dodge his moves. I mean, pretty simple. Another pretty easy boss. Nothing too difficult here enemy-wise. You can skip the large enemies as well, so don't bother fighting them. You can skip a lot of this shit. Usually I like to run through stages when I can, so... that's what I'm mostly doing, aside from, I do stop briefly on this thing. If you want to take out these, little barriers faster, you can bomb them or shotgun them, but I don't really like wasting my specials on them. So I usually save it for the boss. So for this guy, the lightning homing attack seems to work best because it takes his shields down. You got to take down those 3 satellites around the boss, and then he's open for damage. So I had the most success with using the homing lightning. Just keep spamming that when those things are up, and you'll take them down, and then you can attack them however you want. You might even want to switch to the shotgun when he's open like that. You could probably do a lot more damage, but I found weapon swapping on the fly difficult to do because it would be hard to keep track of what weapon I was on. So I usually keep things simple. But the more effective way to play the game is probably switching weapons constantly for different parts. But you really don't need to do that at any point. So this is one of those gated encounters I was talking about where you have to beat a certain amount of enemies before you can move forward. So here it's 6 skulls. And this is a very easy one. Some of them are a little tricky. On the final stage, there's some that are a little tough with a number of tough enemies you have to take out. Enemies that were usually more like mid-bosses become like regular enemies in some of those sequences. Just try to clear out what you can here, but try to take the barrier down fast so you can move forward and skip everything. Grab the health items and things like that in the crates. This was one of the tougher bosses. This was the toughest boss for me up until this point. So this took a while. But the main idea is to just kind of, keep focusing your attacks on him and staying in the middle and just dodge and just keep attacking and, kind of staying in the middle. For the first part of the fight anyway. And kill some of the minions to get some of your specials back. But I wasn't using a ton of them until like the halfway point. But the bombs work decent enough. I think shotgun works better, but I don't really like using the shotgun for this boss because, as soon as the platforms come out, you do want to get on the platforms. But the problem with the shotgun is it pushes you back pretty far every time you shoot it. So I just found that it was hard for me to stay on the platforms and use the shotgun. So I just stuck with the bombs and regular attacks. But it's really not that hard. But I remember it taking me, a decent amount of attempts. It was hard compared to the other bosses, which I think most of them I probably beat, within 1 or 2 tries up until this point. But it definitely gets harder. There's a few bosses that are quite tough. The difficulty starts to ramp up a bit beyond this point. But nothing insane. I mean, it's all very manageable with practice and learning patterns and shit like that. It's definitely a lot easier than the original Ninja Spirit for arcade was, which has some very, very fucking hard parts. I did complete that and the TurboGrafx 16 version and some other ports. But the arcade version of Ninja Spirit was way, way harder than this. But this is a good imitation, and I would say the gameplay is overall better. It also doesn't have that bullshit falling sequence at the end of Ninja Spirit, which was a really cheap sequence that gives you very limited control. And if you see it, you know what I mean. But so this is almost halfway through the game. So basically, just keep moving and climbing, climbing up, and just keep moving forward pretty much. There's not going to be anything too difficult enemy-wise in the game, for until the final stage, which gets a little tougher. But there's really not going to be anything too special. So for this boss, I just stick him with bombs and kind of just stay away from him. If you get too close, you'll get hit by the spinning shit. You can try to be aggressive and get in extra hits and just tank some of the damage like I did here. Which I kind of stay in the middle, but I'm also taking tons of damage. But once I was down to my last hit point is when I kind of just fought him from a distance. So if you want, you can take advantage of the first 4 hits and kind of tank some of his health. And, be aggressive if you want, and then stay back. But if you want to play it safe, you can just stay back for most of the fight. You don't really have to get that close to him and just throw bombs at him. As long as you tag him with some bombs, it really strips his health. So this is very easy. You can just fight these eagles. If you want to beat these eagles easier, you can actually switch to your... I don't know what it is, but it's like a circular attack weapon. It's one of your specials. It is actually useful for that part with the eagles, so if you can use it if you want. Though it is optional. You do get your special attacks back, decently enough when you're fighting regular enemies. You do get a lot of blue orbs for killing regular enemies as you're moving through the stages. You never have to farm them or anything. But, you'll get them back. So this is a hard boss. This can take a while. You fight this boss again on the final stage as well. But you just have to learn to dodge all his patterns that he repeats. And then he'll be vulnerable. After he throws that thing along the ground, he's vulnerable, so he's going to charge you. So you want to be about mid-screen and then keep mashing sword, and he'll run into your sword most of the time. And then you can get some hits in. You can use your screen-clearing magic, the Asian symbol, to get rid of his projectiles most of the time, if you're having trouble dodging them. And the shotgun did a little bit of decent damage. But I probably should have used the... that final special move, the Asian symbol, for this fight. It probably would have been more effective. But the shotgun did a lot of damage to him. I don't remember being able to shotgun him like that in the final stage. So I think they made his health a lot higher. But you can see the way I'm dodging everything. You want to follow that and just be aware. He does the attacks in the same order each time. So you just have to learn the order. For the first attack where he throws a bunch of shurikens at you and fills the screen with those shurikens, all you have to do is just duck in place and mash the button, and you'll take out the lower ones and you'll be safe. So you'll see me doing that. Just analyze what I did there, because that's the way you want to dodge everything. And you're going to see it again a little bit later, near the end of the game. So there is a tough boss here with these rotating balls. It's actually one of the harder bosses. That took me a while. It's not this part, but this guy's pretty easy. Actually, yeah, that wasn't even a boss. That was just a stronger regular enemy. I think it's coming up soon. Yeah, this part. So you might want to start out with the homing magic. Attack and use that initially, because it will hit both of the fucking balls, so it's actually a pretty good way to start off. For these bouncing lasers, you just got to find the position and shift to the next position. You got to get used to where they're going to bounce, but it's always the same. For that part, you can kind of just mash while of course you're already running, but you can just mash the button. Just use your homing again when it recharges, because you're going to get your special moves back when you kill those little fucking balls that you slash. you'll get your magic replenished. And this is just positioning with the lasers. So now you're getting some of your specials back. Sometimes you may take a hit. It's a little tricky not to get hit. But when you get it back, just spam it. Now for this pink mist, it's actually easy, but you got to roll at the right time. You got to use your roll dodge. Just the right time you can dodge that purple mist. But that's it. He just repeats the same things. I think it gets faster, and then he starts alternating all the attacks really quickly. So you just got to be ready to, you got to know how to dodge each attack, and you just got to put it all together. But it is tricky. But there's like I said, there's a method, there's positioning and dodging for all the different phases. There's nothing too difficult. It just gets tricky because he starts doing it faster towards the end where he alternates. So for this part, you can stay all the way to the left side, I found, and just slash down the whole time. And you should just kill whatever comes your way and not take any damage. So that's an easy way to do this part, because otherwise it can be tricky if you try to fight everything. But I found, a very easy way to do it. And you're going to have to do this part every time you die on the boss, so it's good to have an easy way to do it. After each boss, you get a checkpoint. That's how checkpoints work in the game, so it's for every boss fight in the game. After you beat it, you'll get a checkpoint. So for this part, shotgunning the eyeball works quite well. Aside from that, just try to lure out those orbs and just dodge away from them. Avoid the snakes if you can. You can attack the snakes as well, which can be helpful. But the main way to damage the boss, or maybe the only way that actually damages the boss, is hitting the eyeball. So try to shotgun the eyeball. That's going to be your main thing that you're going to go for. When the eyeball rises up to a certain height, you can get a shotgun blast in. And try to do it at close range. And it's a little tricky, but it's really not too hard if you use the shotgun on the eyeball. So this is pretty far in by this point. So now you have another gated encounter. So you got to take out these magicians. These are the main enemies. The best way to do it is to try to spawn kill them quickly so they don't have time to shoot at you. If you can do it faster, it makes it a little easier. So you got these birds charging you, but you should have some clones, which will make it a little easier. So you can kind of use them, to block off the path and hit those things before they get to you. It's not too bad. But aside from that, you just want to keep moving forward. This boss is super easy with the shotgun. I think it takes 2 hits or some shit. So he has a very clear weakness with the shotgun. See, that's half his health in one shot. And that's it. You just got to make sure you hit the right one. I think it's the one with the orange helmet. But there's a correct one to hit that will damage him. I think he puts out some clones, but I didn't have a lot of time to see what was going on there. That was pretty quick. So just use the shotgun. Try to target the main one. This stage is a little tricky because it introduces some more obstacles and shit like that, with the enemies. But it's not too difficult. So you just got to kill that one guy. So you may just want to use your shotgun for a quick kill on that little, stronger enemy. It is a faster way to do it. And you're going to get all your specials back anyway by the time you get to the boss. So it's all right to use the shotgun on some of these regular enemies. So again, we're just trying to spawn kill these things as fast as possible. Try not to get hit by the rock. There's a health down here. So this guy has a lot of complicated projectiles and things, but he's really quite easy because you're just going to tag him with bombs and stay all the way back for the most part. So, if you take a few hits, not a big deal. You got full health by this point. Probably what I needed to do was roll through those attacks, with the roll dodge, but I just didn't do it. I was playing really sloppy, and it was very easy because I didn't really even have to do well. So, if it was a one-hit game like Ninja Spirit or something, you would really have to have this down. But as it stands, some of these bosses you can kind of bullshit your way through until you get to the ones on the last stage. And some of the bosses that I mentioned, you can't really just bullshit your way through. You got to actually get good at them. But you can definitely pull a certain amount of bullshit. So here you're going to try to just keep moving fast. I recommend always swinging your sword as you're moving. And the way I do that is I set my button to turbo. I use a turbo controller for a lot of these kind of games. I can pretty much use any controller on these Switch games now because I'm playing through the Yuzu emulator for a lot of these games. So since I'm on PC, it makes it easy to use any controller. But I had some turbo controllers that I would also use on the actual Switch console. So for this guy, you're just waiting for him to come up and then you're attacking his claw. But the way I like to do it is I do tank some of the hits with the bubbles and shit, but what I like to do is land one hit, then shotgun, one hit, shotgun. So I alternate. And of course, once my shotgun is used up, I just tank him, and just mash the sword button. So it's kind of just a very easy way to do it. You will take damage, but you'll out-damage him before he out-damages you. So I go with that old trick. Classic trick on a lot of NES games, just fucking... You go up to the boss and you don't even try to learn the patterns. You just fucking take the damage and just mash the button. So as long as you're using the shotgun alternating with the slashes, you'll be able to do it. It was close, but you saw that I was able to get it in. You could dodge a little bit more if you want to play it safe, but you won't be sent that far back anyway if you die, so... You can just keep doing it again and again until you break through. So you got to kill one of those sword guys, and those are the hardest enemies in the game. So it is tough later on when you have, 2 or 3 of them you have to take out in a small confined space with a lot of projectiles and things and magicians, and that's near the end of the game, and that can be tricky. I don't have any great tips for those guys except that you can tag them with bombs and retreat. So for this guy, what I do is I start out with a bomb right by his head as his health bar is about to fully show up. And then I just alternate shotgun blast and just cross through him. I jump over him and switch sides, shotgun, and I just keep alternating sides and shotgunning him. And that was pretty much what I found the best way that worked for me. So it's a much more aggressive strat. It actually skips one of his forms, I believe. Otherwise, it becomes kind of a longer, more irritating fight. So that's kind of like the aggressive way to do it. You probably will die a number of times trying to pull that off. But I recommend it because I would rather do that than try to deal with extra forms and shit. Even though it is, you do have to be more precise. But that would be my preferred way to take him out, is the aggressive way. Starting off with a bomb, right as his health bar is about to fill up, the bomb will explode, and then switch to shotgun real fast and just shotgun him. So this is kind of hard because now you got to take out 2 of these guys, but they are separate from each other. You can fight them separately, but I always get hit on those guys pretty much, so it's kind of a pain in the ass. But this is the final stage. So now we're just taking out magicians again, except there's 8 of them, so quite a few, but still very easy. It could be tough not to take damage, but I think you're stuck with the low health. Like I had 3 health, but it's enough because the spider boss here is quite easy. So just use your bombs. And for the spider, I'm just going to be real aggressive. So for the spider, I'm trying to get a bomb in right as the health bar, as soon as it's ready. And I'm slashing constantly and throwing bombs. And then you got this thing on his ass over here, this red thing. So throw some bombs on it. Tag some bombs to it and just strike it with your sword a lot. And most of his health is gone by this point. So now just stick him with a bomb on his head. And that pretty much finished him. So yeah, not too hard. If you kill him fast, it's quite easy. So this was the hardest boss in the game for me. And it's a repeat of the boss we already fought, but it has more moves, and it seems to have a lot more defense. As far as it doesn't take as much damage, like I wasn't able to shotgun it effectively. So what I do for this boss coming up, for this part, this is just killing enemies. You're going to have to repeat this every time you die in the boss, but it's quite easy because they give you a full health power-up. So just... wait to pick up the health out of the box if the guys aren't all defeated yet. Just wait until you kill them all. And then you'll have a second or two to grab it before the boss comes. If the boss arrives, then you can't grab the health item, but you have plenty of time to do it. So start off crouched and mashing, and you'll take out all those shurikens. Then just jump and double jump to stay in the air from those bombs. Then for this part with all these... rotating, the skives that he's throwing out, you want to get in between them. So I like to jump them 2 at a time. So that's what I do. I jump those spinning things he throws out. I jump them 2 at a time with regular jumps. Now for this part where he's throwing a bunch of shit down at you, I like to start using my Asian symbol special that clears out projectiles. I use it for that. For the one where you range those spinning projectiles down, I move left to right and I use my roll dodge to roll through them. And aside from that, it's pretty much rinse and repeat. I mean, you're going to be mashing the sword when he's charging at you. You want him to charge into your sword. So give him a little distance because he's going to charge at you after he does that ground move. So you want to give it a little distance or he'll ram into you and you'll get hit. So for this part, I'm going all out aggressive with my sword slashes. You can dodge this shit, but I kind of half-assed do it. Because I found it hard to dodge, but you can do it. You can roll through those lasers, and you can kind of climb up and kind of like go in a circle around the arena to dodge the lightning. But I just don't really do too much of that. I did it a little bit. I do it kind of sloppy. But remember, you can use that Asian symbol special to clear out bullets and those rotating things, those spinning things. So if you're having trouble, and it will also clear out the bombs, but not always. Sometimes the bombs get through it for some reason. So I pretty much saved up that special move to clear out projectiles for that boss fight. I use it on a few specific parts. But most of the stuff is easy enough to dodge once you get the patterns down. Just watch how I'm doing it. Like I said, I jump those spinning things 2 at a time. So just get used to doing that. And when it ends, you're going to have to get ready to jump immediately because he's going to throw something along the ground. And then he also rains them down from above where you'll just run left to right and roll through them when you need to with your dodge move. So for this guy, I got this guy on my second try. Very easy for me. All you really want to worry about is try to tag the white one with the white pants, not the clone. Try to tag the white one with bombs and just retreat. You know, if you want to get a few sword swipes in, go for it. But I mostly just stay away from them and tag them with bombs. And it really does a lot of damage. So start off by doing that. Try to do that for the whole fight. You know, if you run out of specials, then try to finish them with your sword. But you're only going to damage him if you hit the white one. So just try to focus on that. My good friend who also completed this game had a lot of trouble with this boss and the final boss. But for me, these last two parts only took me 25 minutes, whereas I took about an hour and a half to 2 hours on the previous boss. So for me, that was a lot harder. So it really depends on your playstyle, what you're going to find difficult. So now we're fighting harder enemies in these little cage matches. But those ones are easy because you can take them out one at a time by just staying within range. Like your sword is a little bit longer range than theirs. So just stay at range and take them out. Now this part can be tough because you got to beat two of these difficult sword guys with all these magicians going around. So sometimes I will tag them with a bomb. I try to fight them separately, and I will try to tag them with a bomb. But it's always close for me because I didn't figure out a good way to attack those guys without getting hit. I'm sure there's a way to do it easily. It just never clicked for me. So I've died more on that probably than I died on this actual boss. So for this boss, very simple strat. I didn't even really have it mapped out that well. I just jump in the middle and keep attacking, and I throw bombs at it. When I can land a bomb, I'll tag a bomb to its head. But aside from that, I'm constantly just slashing at it with rapid fire, and I take out the angels occasionally to get some of my specials back, so I can tag them with more bombs. Because killing the angels will regenerate your special meter, so you can do that too. But really, if you stay in the middle and keep attacking, you don't have to even play that well. You'll probably eventually break through. That's pretty much what I did. I mean, I didn't even try to carefully dodge the attacks. So really not too hard if you play aggressive. So yeah, that's it pretty much. I should have a review up soon as well. So if you have any questions, let me know, and thanks for watching.